Wasabi, guys. This is a top 10 of the best Boros cards in the Commander format. This is just my opinion, so keep that in mind. I do base it off of plenty of experience playing the Commander format. So let's start off with number 10, Adriana, Captain of the Guard. She is from Conspiracy 2. She gives all your creatures melee. Melee! So if you don't already know what that does, it basically says each creature you control, they get +1/+1 for each opponent you attacked. The good thing about this is that Commander is a multiplayer format. There's most likely going to be at least 3 other players you're going to attack, so the fact that you can give all your creatures like +3/+3 or maybe even more depending on the size of your game, that is always going to be awesome. And one thing that Boros colors do really well in particular is they know how to go wide, and they can go wide really well. When you can buff up all your creatures during combat like that, it's just insane. She has yet to see any real significant play yet, but only time will tell. She's a very special option as far as Boros commanders go. Number 9 is Master Warcraft. The downside here is that you have to cast this before attackers are declared, but what you do get is you have the option of screwing over your opponent by basically taking their best creature that they don't want to block with and destroying it, or even just making it to where none of your opponent's creatures can block and you most likely beat them and maybe win the game. So you have a huge advantage there, just combat tricks, and that's what Boros does really well. It's the combat trick colors. Assemble a Legion, number 8. This is one of those cards that can go either way in terms of aggressiveness and building a token army, or Pillow Fort when you're just trying to get a bunch of tokens to block for you or chump block. It's just one of those cards that if left alone, you're going to get a ton of soldiers. You're going to get a ton of dudes just ready to block for you. It's just it's so stupid how simple it is, but people will take it for granted. Especially now that you have that mono white Parallel Lives card now from Amonkhet. That's definitely going to help out this type of strategy, especially if you don't play green and you want that type of token doubling effect. It can really help you go wide in Boros strategies. Number 7 is Iroas, God of Victory. Creatures you control can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. I believe that's what Menace is. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. That right there is ridiculous. I mean, this is what you want in a Boros deck. He's indestructible. If you have Devotion, that's even better because, he's a 7/4 that can attack for you, and he's indestructible. All your creatures gain indestructible when they attack, so that's ridiculous. Number 6, Legion's Initiative. When we talk about combat tricks, this is definitely one of them. It gives an anthem, sort of an anthem, gets +1/+0 to red creatures, +0/+1 to white creatures. The activated ability exiles all your creatures and then brings them back during the next combat. While that is iffy, it definitely helps protect your field, so you can block, or if your opponents happen to do something, you can just exile all your creatures in response so that they're safe for the next combat. You can also do tricks with this with ETBs and definitely take advantage of a lot of what your creatures are able to do with this type of ability, but it's definitely a good defense against any type of removal, and it brings them back during the next combat. Number 5, Aurelia, the Warleader. Combat tricks, getting an extra combat step. That's one of them. A lot of people gravitate towards her when they're talking about making the pain in the ass. Let's get as many combat steps as possible. It's not quite as game finishing as Narset can be, but it's definitely similar. The only downside is, of course you can't keep going on, but you can only if the first time, each time you attack, you get this trigger, so that is a downside, but being able to attack twice a turn with her is still amazing. It's never a bad thing when you get an extra combat step, even if it's only an extra one. Number 4 is Nahiri the Harbinger. Her +1's just card advantage. It's not the best card advantage, but it's something. Her -2, exile target enchantment, tapped artifact, or tapped creature. It's a little specific on the whole tap thing, but it's still great. That's probably the best part about her. Whenever you talk about commander and removal, exiling removal is always the best. The fact that you can exile a tapped artifact or a tapped creature, or just exile an enchantment in these colors, it's amazing. She's a really good planeswalker. Her ult, if you do happen to get to it, it's 8 mana, and you get to search your library for an artifact or creature card, put it on the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. It does gain haste, but you have to return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. That is a huge downside, but you still can, if you're playing one of those Super Friends decks, or if you're playing any deck that has a finisher in enchantment form or creature form, that's definitely the card you want to play. Number 3 is Gisela, Blade of Goldnight. She's just nasty. No matter what deck you're playing her in, she just automatically warps the game around her to the point where everyone gets frustrated. Everyone's dealing double damage to each other. You're dealing double damage to them. They can only deal half damage to you. That's insane. You basically put a huge differential in damage and life loss. You're not losing as much life. They're losing twice as much. You're most likely going to be playing the aggressive hit hard strategy. They're most likely going to try to retreat or try to play the removal game if they can. She just puts everyone in an uncomfortable position, which is what you want to do with these colors. They're super aggressive and they're really powerful when it comes to combat and the ability to deal a lot of damage really quickly, and that's what Boros colors do really well. So she's definitely one of the top Boros commander options, and she belongs on this list pretty high. Number 2 is Wear and Tear. Really flexible. 1 generic and 1 red to cast Wear, 1 white to cast Tear. The red one destroys an artifact, the white one destroys an enchantment. You can cast both for 3 mana and you get to destroy an artifact or an enchantment. Super flexible, not played enough. I think if you ask the majority of people who see this card, they're sort of like, oh wow, yeah, that's really good. I never knew this was actually a great option, because most people, they see the split cards and they automatically think, well, there's not really a lot of good ones. There's not too many good split cards because a lot of them are too specific, or they're not well-rounded cards. They don't really serve a good utility purpose, but this is definitely one of them. When you have the option of destroying 2 different permanent types that are just so abundant in this format, definitely going to be an all-star in Boros colors. Number 1, Boros Charm. Out of all the charms, Boros Charm is easily the best. Dealing 4 damage to an opponent. Yeah, in Commander it's not that big of a deal, but you never know. Making all your permanents indestructible until end of turn is insane. And with these colors, being able to do that's always good. And that's probably the main reason why this card is number 1. Combat tricks, anything you can do to strengthen your team, anything to strengthen your army. Instant speed, just 2 mana. And of course, you can give target creature double strike until end of turn, which has its benefits, and especially if you're playing something like Gisela, giving her double strike is ridiculous. So having all that versatility in combat tricks, you definitely have to consider this at the top of your list as well. So good in Boros colors. So anyway guys, if you enjoyed this list, check out my other ones. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I do a whole lot of other stuff. That's it for me. Signing off, Void Mage Gamer. Thanks for watching.